It is 7:50. I'd like to call this meeting of the Lansing City Council to order and ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Councilmember Betts. Here. Councilmember Dunbar. Councilmember Garza. Here. Councilmember Hussein. Here. Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
Councilmember Spitzley. Here. Councilmember Wood.
Here.
There are 8 members present, a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next up on our agenda is meditation and Pledge of Allegiance. Is there anyone that the council wishes we keep in our thoughts, our meditation? Councilmember Betts.
My partner's sister is having brain surgery tomorrow, so if we can keep her in our meditation, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? All rise, please. Thank you.
You have for your approval the printed council proceedings of January 6th.
I need a motion to approve the printed council proceedings from January 6, 2020. Mr. Vice
I'd
President.
move the approval of the printed council proceedings of January 6, 2020 as presented.
It's been moved by Vice President Hussein. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries.
We are to special ceremonies. We have a tribute in recognition of the Greater Lansing Area Holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Commission.
Would the representatives from the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Commission of Mid-Michigan please come down into the well? Vice President Hussein, you're in charge. This is my, it's not usual that a microphone is too short for me. This is my first time being able to preside over this recognition and tribute and ceremony, and I really am very grateful for the opportunity. The folks behind me have been working year-round to put together the 35th annual Dr. Martin Luther King celebration. This year's theme, There Comes a Time When Silence is Betrayal. I think this is such an appropriate time in our nation's history for that theme to really send the message that it's appropriate that we speak up against injustice everywhere, and I appreciate you all for pulling that together. Every year I'm reminded this is the largest and longest running celebration of Dr. King's life and legacy, and we are very proud to host that here in the city of Lansing, and I thank you all for the work you do to bring 1,800 people together next week to celebrate Dr. King's accomplishments and legacy. I have with me a resolution from the Lansing City Council. I won't read it all, but I will note that the resolution notes that keynote speaker this year is U.S. Representative John Lewis, who is, of course, in all of our thoughts and prayers as he undergoes cancer treatment, and he served 6 decades in public service. I just want to note the resolution states the Lansing City Council commends the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Commission of Mid-Michigan for their continued dedication and service to our youth and residents of the city of Lansing and wishes them the best of luck on this uplifting celebration. And we further resolve that the City Council commemorates the efforts of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. commemorates the efforts of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself and encourages all residents of the city of Lansing to share in Dr. King's dream and work toward justice, goodwill, and brotherhood for all people. Mr. Vice President, I move the resolution.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Passes.
Thank you very much. I'm going to invite the mayor up to say a few words and then representatives from the...
Sure. Well, I want to thank you all for being here today. This is, I think, the hardest working board in the city of Lansing. You all do a great job. I also have a proclamation, but I'm not going to read it because it's going to be in the ad book, and I expect everybody who's here and watching, they're all going to be there, so they're going to be able to read it in the ad book. So I'm not going to read it. So you can read it for yourself when you show up. I do want to especially commend this board for pushing hard to get Congressman John Lewis. He doesn't leave his district often on MLK Day, but when some of the folks standing here went to D.C. and explained to him the importance of this event, he agreed. And I think that's tremendous. You know, we all have him in our prayers. We just did a prayer vigil at the Capitol, and we're all thinking about him, so I'm excited. So I'll just read the end, which will be in the program guide. Now, therefore, I, Andy Shore, Mayor of the City of Lansing, by the power vested in me, do hereby proclaim January 20th, 2020 as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Lansing, and I encourage all residents to continue to pursue the social equity the doctor stood for as an activist and humanitarian while honoring his legacy. Elaine, I'm not going to give this to you because it's in, well, actually, I will give it to you. You know what? I will give it to you. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
I do just want to make a couple of brief comments and just to ask that you as a city look at these amazing individuals behind me who not put on a luncheon event on Monday, the third Monday in January, but who have committed their lives to promoting the legacy of Dr. King. And that is not a trite statement. That's something that they believe and are committed to doing each and every day of their lives. And in the times that we are living in now, it's important that we have people that have taken the belief of that beloved community and placed it firmly in their hearts and are using everything within them to make certain that Dr. King's belief and dream of that beloved community comes to fruition. We have bridges yet to cross, as Congressman Lewis reminds us. And this commission is committed to making certain that we cross that bridge together and that we do it forcefully and that we do it faithfully and we complete the work that was begun. I do want to just take a moment and introduce all of the commissioners that are present with me. We have an amazing representation of our community, and Steve Jappinga from the Lansing Chamber, our very own Dr. Lee June, formerly of Michigan State University, and I guess still at Michigan State University doing amazing things. Christian Shelley, the director of the East Lansing Public Library. Rosa Moss Hargrove, who is retired. Jodine Potter, retired from Michigan State University. Michael Flowers, our beloved Michael Flowers from the Lansing Board of Water and Light. Kelly Ellsworth Atchison, who is the most amazing commission secretary of any commission secretary of any commission ever. Tristan Wright, who is the most amazing vice chair of any commission ever. Chief Randy Telefaro, who I have always called everybody's fire chief, but we have him back in East Lansing, and we're happy to have him so. Commissioner Nicole Noel Williams from Senator Pugh's office, and our baby Anthony Winston. I just want to thank you. You just give these folks a round of applause. We still have bragging rights. We host the largest luncheon event in the country honoring Dr. King by one of the oldest continuously operating commissions in the country. We're 41 years strong, and we're going to keep on doing this work for another 41 years. God bless you, and thank you for your time.
I was gonna compliment the front. See you Monday.
Yes, yes, thank you. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Hello.
See you Monday. Good work this week.
Thank you.
How are you? Good, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, how are you doing? Good to see you.
I am good.
Hello.
comments by council members. Got the gavel back. There we go. Before we move on, I just want to thank the commission members and remind everybody the luncheon is at the Lansing Center on Monday. Thank you all for the work you do on this. And I just wanted to note, too, that the celebration in Lansing has been going on longer than I've been alive. So that's and it's sold out. So if you don't have your tickets, you missed out. Get them next year. All right, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, we are to comments by council members and the city clerk.
Are there council members who wish to make comments this evening? Vice President Hussein.
Just very quickly, the Churchill Downs Community Association as well as the Colonial Village Neighborhood Association, they both recess for the month of January, but we do have the Luton Rich Neighborhood Association that will be meeting this month at their normal time. That will be Thursday, January 16th at 7 p.m., and that will be at the Mayflower Church at 2901 West Mount Hope. Thank you.
Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to remind everybody, we have our Fourth Ward Constituent Contact Meeting every fourth Saturday of the month at Gregory's, 2510 North MLK. This month is January 25th, 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Come out, talk about city business, anything informal or formal, City of Lansing related. Please come out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jackson. Any others wishing to speak? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, President Spatafor. Just want to take another opportunity to remind folks that we do have an election coming up March 10th. It is the presidential primary election as well as count them, five local proposals. So lots to vote on. There is still lots and lots of time to get an absentee ballot. You can, in fact, pick one up in person all the way through the day before Election Day, and if you register on Election Day, you can get it on Election Day. But the easiest way is to vote at home. We need a signed application. For this election this year, and I know some people are not happy about this, but it is the state law. For this election, for the presidential primary, voters do have to select what ballot they want. There's a Democratic ballot that also has the proposals. There is a Republican ballot that also has the proposals. And then there is a separate ballot with just the proposals. So if you want to vote in the March election, you do have to select one of those ballots. It does not lock you into voting in any particular way in any future election. And it is, again, just for the March presidential primary. That is the state law on presidential primaries in Michigan, is that we do have separate ballots for the political parties. With that, we are to community event announcements. If there's anyone in the audience with a community event, we do at this time offer you 1 minute to give us the details of your event. And seeing no one. I'm going to call for the close of speaker registration for public comment on legislative matters, and that is the blue sign-in sheet in the back that people who want to address things that are on the city council agenda listed under the consent agenda tonight, that is the appropriate place to sign up for that. So we'll be picking that up in about 10 or 15 seconds. Please jump up and make your way toward the back of the room if you want to sign in. And with that, we are to the mayor's comments.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, Mr. President. We have a few events going on this week. The city has our HRCS Martin Luther King event this Friday at noon here in council chambers. The Greater Lansing Clergy Forum has their MLK event on Wednesday at 6 at Union Missionary Baptist Church. As you know, the annual MLK holiday event is on Monday at 10:30 at the Lansing Center with Congressman John Lewis. Additionally, we have a mobile food pantry this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I believe it's at St. Gerard. I got to check that, but I believe it's at St. Gerard Church.
St. Gerard.
Yeah. I also want to recognize that I know many of you here today in the audience are here in support of Dr. Joan Jackson Johnson. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your comments and thoughts. As you certainly know, there's a situation which forced the city attorney to put her on paid leave while it's investigated. I legally can't say anything else about that, but I do want to recognize that I certainly appreciate all that Joan has done for Lansing and the community, and I know that she passionately cares for those in need, and I'm hopeful that this situation will be resolved as soon as possible. So thank you all for being here, and that's all I've got, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We are to public comment on legislative matters, although no one is signed in to speak on that, so we are to the consent agenda.
I'll just clarify for those who did sign in on the yellow sheet, that opportunity is later on in the meeting, so you will have your chance to speak. We're to the consent agenda. Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. The consent agenda tonight will include 1B, which is a tribute in recognition of the City Human Relations and Community Services Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Observance, as well as 2B, which is a confirmation of reappointment for Mr. Derek Milo as a member of the Elected Officers Compensation Commission for a term to expire in October of 2026. That being said, I'd move the consent agenda.
It's been moved. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And we are to the committee of the whole.
What we have before us is a resolution in terms of council rule revisions. This deals with amendments to Rule 4, dealing with the appointment of committee members, as well as the creation of ad hoc committees in Rule 10 pertaining to the consent agenda. Per Council Rule number 41, the motion will not be considered for adoption until the next council meeting. That being said, I would move the resolution.
It's been moved by Council Member Vice President Hussein. Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor? We're going to need a roll call vote on that, excuse me.
We
Remember, I'm the new guy.
can't vote until,
Oh, that's right. Then
that will
Okay,
lie
got it.
over
Very
until the next council
it'll lie over
meeting.
till the 27th of January.
And it's my understanding that the other item 2C is not going to be considered this evening.
It did not come out of committee of the whole this evening.
Okay, we are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. That is the yellow sheet in the back. I do already have one full sheet, and there's a partial sheet in the back. If you do wish to address council, the rules do require you to sign in, so if you wish to speak and did not sign the yellow sheet, please get up and do so, as we'll be pulling that sheet in about another 15 or 20 seconds if no one seems to be getting up. And in the meantime, we are to reports of city officers, boards, and commissions.
Mr. Vice President.
Mr. President, I move that all items be considered as being read in full and that the proper referrals be made by you.
We have a motion before us. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries.
We have letters from the mayor regarding grant acceptance, National League of Cities grant, cities addressing fines and fees equitably.
The Committee on Ways and Means and the Internal Auditor.
Grant acceptance, Project Safe Neighborhoods grant requested by Lansing Police Department.
That'll also go to the Ways and Means Committee and the Internal Auditor.
And the appointment of Michael Redding as an at-large member of the Board of Review.
The Committee of the Whole.
Communications and petitions, notice from the Liquor Control Commission of a request to transfer stock for J&K Catering at 2951 West Main Street.
The Committee on General Services.
And finally, a communication from Catherine Gleason about the lack of CATA bus routes in the downtown, midtown Lansing neighborhoods.
Committee on Intergovernmental Relations.
Okay, we are to remarks by council members.
Any council members wish to address the council? Seeing none, moving on.
Remarks by the mayor. Okay, then we are to public comment on city government-related matters. Again, speakers will have up to 3 minutes to address the city council.
Mr. Clerk. Mr. Clerk, I forgot two things. If we could go back to remarks by council.
Okay, remarks by council members.
My
yes.
apologies. Again, remember, it's still my first one here. Two things. I'm going to make a motion to discharge the referral of Nathan Triplett's appointment to the from the Intergovernmental Relations Committee to COW for consideration on January 27th. He is being appointed to the CATA board. I need a motion, sorry.
So moved.
It's been moved by Council Vice President Hussein. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Committee of the Whole. COW for 127 hearing. All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. That'll be considered on the January 27th Committee of the Whole meeting. And the next item is I'd like to read into record the committee assignments for 2020 for the Lansing City Council. The Committee of the Whole, of course, will be chaired by myself and vice chaired by Adam Hussein, council member from the 3rd Ward. Committee on General Services will be chaired by Councilmember Hussein with Councilmember Wood as vice chair and Councilmember Garza as the member. The Committee on Intergovernmental Relations will be chaired by myself with Brandon Betts as the vice chair, and Councilmember Betts as the vice chair and Councilmember Dunbar as the member. Committee on Public Services will be chaired by Councilmember Dunbar with Councilmember Spitzley serving as vice chair and myself as the 3rd member. The Committee on Public Safety will be chaired by Councilmember Garza with vice chair Councilmember Wood and Councilmember Brian Jackson as the 3rd member. The Committee on Development and Planning, for the time being, will be chaired by Councilmember Spitzley, Councilmember Garza, and vice chair, and then Councilmember Betts will be the 3rd member. The 4th member of that committee, pending a rule change, will be Councilmember Hussein. Committee on Ways and Means will be chaired by Councilmember Wood, with myself serving as the vice chair and Councilmember Jackson as the 3rd member. And the Committee on Personnel will be, as dictated by council rules, chaired by the Vice President, Councilmember Hussein, myself as Vice Chair, and Councilmember Wood and Councilmember Garza as members of those committees. For council members wondering about the other committee assignments and advisory boards, what we're going to do is have council staff send out the day and times those commissions and councils and boards meet, and then have you indicate which ones interest you and which ones you can meet on a regular basis, plan on attending. We've had some issues with some of them where they were of interest to council members, but the dates and times didn't work out. So we're going to try and get it right this time and see if there's the bestest times for everybody to attend. So thank you for that. There we go.
Okay, then we are to the public comment, and again, speakers will have up to 3 minutes to address the city council. I do just want to address a couple of things about the council rules. This is your opportunity to address the council. It's generally not a question and answer period, so it's your 3 minutes to address the council and not a question and answer or discussion. And the council rules do prohibit shows of clapping or other displays during public comment. So with that, the first speaker is Maxine Kane, followed by Barbara Maxine. Oh, Barbara Roberts Mason. Dr. Kane, Maxine Kane?
Good evening. My name is Maxine Hankins Kane, and I made some comments earlier at your former meeting. And what I said was, this is a very sad time in the Lansing community, because one of our major drum majors has been defamed, has been embarrassed, has been insulted. And the question that I posed earlier was, did we have to come to this point? Where was the wisdom, the background knowledge, the history of who this great woman is that could have perhaps avoided this situation? Why could someone not have foreseen how this would have negatively impacted this community? I think there perhaps was maybe a lack of communication, a lack of foresight. And my major concern is, because this decision was made, that Dr. Joan Jackson Johnson cannot recapture that respectful status that she had, because it has been tarnished. I think tarnished by some poor decision makers. I can't tell you who it was, but I think that it is unfortunate And the question I have before you today is, what can you do to help us restore the dignity associated with her name? And the question is, if you were to even offer her job back, and I hope you do, would she want to come back into a situation where she feels uncomfortable, not trusted? If I were her, perhaps I would not. So I do have the entire city in prayer. I believe that what happens today is all a part of what God has ordered. He's ordered our steps, and He is looking at us,
Thank you.
trying to figure out how we're going to solve this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Barbara Roberts Mason, followed by Elaine Fishoff.
Thank you. Like Maxine, I was here earlier, and I want to first congratulate you, President Spatafor, for becoming the new president of the City Council. We're going to need your leadership over the coming weeks and months and this year. As you can see by some of the things that have occurred, particularly the incident with Joan Jackson Johnson. I want to thank the people who came here tonight to support her name, and to support her as a person. When I spoke with her on Saturday, she could have said to me, you know, they really did a horrible thing to me. They eliminated me from my position. But you know what she said to me? She said, what's going to happen to those folks who are under the bridges, the homeless people who are out there, because it was icing outside, it was raining, and the weather was terrible. And I almost shed a tear because I was calling her to talk to her about the wonderful job she had done with the city and how much we appreciate and love her for all that she's done. And she's saying to me, you know, I know there's a man who's under the bridge, who's in the cold and the ice and the snow. What is going to happen to him? Joan is loved by people because of that kind of attitude that she has. The process that was used for her to have been taken out of her position was not a good process. She didn't have time to stand up for herself. She didn't have time to represent herself. It happened very quickly, and she was not given the opportunity to support her own beliefs and feelings at that time. Joan has meant a lot to this community. She has clothed those who have no clothes. She has fed the homeless. She has taken care of people who are downtrodden. She has taken care of people who had no food, no anything, because she helped me. She helps my church when we have people who have problems. I just want to say thank you to those who've come this evening to support her. And I want her to know, because I'm sure she's probably watching, and if she is watching, I want her to know that we love her, and I know that people on the City Council feel the same way about her personally as well, because what she's done for the community, she's done to support the city of Lansing, and she's helped to make the city of Lansing one of the best places in this state and in this country to live. So I want to thank you for the support you've given to Joan and her programs in the past, and I want to ask that you look very seriously upon the circumstances that occurred and make amends to her. Make amends to the city, to the community, to the people who are here tonight to support her, to those who have emailed and made phone calls and have come to her defense. Please make amends to her and to her name, and thank you.
Thank you. Next is Elaine Fishoff, followed by Dale Kopich.
I'm Elaine Darrell Fishoff, a Lansing resident, a member of the League of Women Voters in the Lansing area, and a member of the Lansing Environmental Action Team. I'd like to see these packets get to each person on the dais. The packets contain the League and LEAT's endorsements, the draft resolution to declare a climate emergency. Thank you. A list of 7 steps that the Lansing City Council can take right now, and a tabulation of the many Michigan cities that have already taken action. On behalf of the League and LEAT, we're asking that Mayor Shore and the other members of the council recognize that Lansing, like the rest of the world, is facing a climate change emergency that is an existential threat. Other persons are here to support these requests. Would those persons please stand up? In the last 45 years, we've warmed the world twice as much as we did in the previous 95 years, and greenhouse gas emissions are still increasing yearly at an accelerating pace. That amount of warming is already causing Lansing to suffer increased rainfall and flooding, record extremes in temperature, disruption of food production, and other changes that threaten health and human safety. 10 cities have climate action plans, and many have sustainability managers. In spite of Lansing being the capital of Michigan, Lansing has not yet set a greenhouse emissions reduction goal, not yet adopted a climate action plan, not yet hired a sustainability manager, and not yet appointed an environmental board. Lansing's budget is in the process of being drafted. Last year, multiple citizens, including myself, asked the council to budget for a sustainability manager and a fund for a climate action plan. No action was taken. The council suggested I bring it up earlier in the budget process, so here we are. Passing this resolution and adopting these measures would recognize the urgency for action to protect Lansing residents, save money that can be used to pay for other services, and set Lansing on the path to becoming a carbon-free city. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Next is Dale Copage, and then Mike Hudson.
First, I'll say Happy New Year. Since this is the first time back here with City Council, but I'm the Lansing Branch President, NAACP, and a number of members have contacted or called or made references concerning Joan. Now, we're not making any judgments at this time. We haven't had any opportunity to make any requests for information, other than a few talks with the mayor. And also want to thank you, Mr. President, for giving me a call and having a conversation briefly. But what we want to do is say that we're here supporting Joan for a number of things she's done in this community, for those in need, those who have not. And her character, not only with the city of Lansing, being on the staff with the city, but in many capacities in the past, on many different boards. At this time, I ask members of the Lansing Branch NAACP that are here, would you please stand if you're in support of Joan? I would say we had a number of individuals who left because of your long deliberation in closed chambers. I understand the information that you needed to discuss, whatever it was of course important, but it took away an opportunity for those individuals to be recognized and also to say something on Joan's behalf. But at this time, what we like to do, and everyone can sit here, or you can say standing, is to say we're here supporting her, letting you know that the community would like to see some kind of resolution that would be not only favorable, but also working on her behalf as far as her character, which a number of people take very, very serious these days. It's the meaning to look back and say we should have done this, we should have done that, or we could have handled things in certain matters. But I would dare say in the future, if there could be a completion prior to actually releasing things in the community that would kind of jug people or hurt people, that be taken into consideration. But thank you for the opportunity to speak, and hoping that there'll be some kind of good resolution or resolving of the matter, a remedy that will work on both behalves. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mike Hudson and then Kathy Kerwin.
Thank you for letting me speak. I've known Joan for the last 13 years. I do things with Susan Cancrow from Advent House Ministries. I do things for Joan Jackson Johnson through One Church, One Family. And one of the things that we recently did was I got a call from Joan December 18th, and she had a homeless grandmother with 6 children, and they needed a place to live because they were homeless. And that was December 18th. I called St. George Church, and by the 23rd, they had that house full of food, clothing, Christmas presents, bedding, beds, furniture, and everything. And that's what she does. She gets people from everywhere to hustle around the poor. And a lot of people refer to her as St. Teresa of Lansing. And then another thing she had me do, we had a woman in the house that had abscess tooth, had to go to the doctor. She couldn't call a taxi, so Joan ran over and got her. She called me. She left me there with the 3 kids, and I had changed 3 diapers. So she gets us to do a lot of things that God knows we probably would have never done. And like I said, I've known her a long time, and she's never asked me to do anything illegal, immoral, or unethical. And we just hope and pray that this all can be resolved in a peaceful way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Kathy Kerwin and then Sharon Dade.
Hi, I'm Kathy Kerwin. Can everyone hear me? I've had a little trouble hearing the rest of the speakers, so I am hoping you can hear me. I'm here to speak on behalf of Joan Jackson Johnson, a beloved friend and a wonderful community leader. I've had the honor of working with her for some number of years as president of St. Vincent de Paul. She's a true warrior for the poor, working 12-hour days, often weekends, and helping children and families get shelter and food. She helps with the homeless. She tried to get me to go on some of her night raids under the bridges to find people when it was an ice storm. She sees that they get services. She's the personification of love, considered by many of us to be the Mother Teresa of the Lansing area. I feel very badly that her reputation has been besmirched. She is a woman who has spent a lifetime devoting herself to those in need in our community. Please honor and thank her instead of insulting and hurting her. I wish something could be done to have done it differently. After a lifetime of service, I just wish to only honor Joan Jackson Johnson.
Thank you. Next is Sharon Dade and then Linda Keefe.
Hi, my name is Sharon Dade, and I'm the director for New Hope Community Center. And we serve thousands of homeless a year. And we couldn't do that without the help of the city of Lansing, which we appreciate deeply. But we certainly could not do that without the help of Dr. Joan Jackson Johnson. I was just watching as you gave a tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King, and one of the quotes that came up for me was, life's most persistent and urgent questions are, what are you doing for others? And for me, that means Dr. Joan Jackson Johnson. I was reading an article recently that said behind Joan's eyes, kind eyes, and matter-of-fact question, gears were turning and her attention was focused on a young mother in front of her, and she said, what have you had to eat today? That is the epitome of Joan. She cares about everybody. She gives dignity and respect to everybody. It doesn't matter what your stature is or what your need is. She will be a listening ear. She, to me, is a bridge over troubled waters for many people in this community. And to treat her with any less dignity and respect than she treats others is an atrocity. And so my prayer for our community, which I love Lansing, I love this city, I love it because this is where I live, this is where I work. But I want to see that those that have committed their lives to the work of serving others are also treated with dignity and respect. As the gentleman said just before me, I have worked with Joan for over 20 years, and I've worked in this city for over 30 years. And I've never seen her do anything illegal. She's never asked me to participate in anything illegal. She is one who is a catalyst for change, and she will pull people from all places in the city to make sure that someone is served and served with dignity and respect. She will ask the right questions. She will show up at any time of day and night. She and I have personally gone under bridges and viaducts together to find people who were without hope, people who may be experiencing great need of mental health conditions and other things. It didn't scare her, it didn't chase her off, and it still doesn't. And so I am coming today just to honor her and to give respect to the woman that she is, and also to ask this council to take into consideration how she's been treated and to please do whatever you can to right any wrongs that have been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Linda Keefe, followed by Lee Taylor.
Thank you. Hopefully I can get through all my comments here. My original intent was certainly because of the city's need to hire a sustainability manager, but now the issue regarding Joan has come up, and I first met Joan years ago. We served on the Clinton, Eaton, Ingham Community Mental Health Board, and back then she was working as a psychologist, and I know her to be a woman of integrity and compassion. And on to, I just feel that it's really, that we need to have a sustainability manager. NASA, and we all know this, NASA has the effects of climate change on their website, temperature and heat. I only need to use one word, Australia. Well, another word, California, and all the other states that are being affected by the heat, the precipitation and flooding, hurricanes getting more frequent, more intense. Global sea level has risen about 8 inches since record keeping began back in 1880. And it's projected to rise by 1 to 4 inches by the year 2100. And I just wish that you would, that the board, and I know some of you do, and now we have new members also, I wish you would please listen to us. Also, NASA points out that we have regional effects. Here in the Midwest, we have extreme heat, heavy downpours, flooding. This is going to affect infrastructure, health, agriculture, forestry, transportation, air and water quality, which we already have issues with, God knows. There's statewide effects in Michigan. Our most valuable resource is the Great Lakes. Climate change can exacerbate a whole range of risk. There are effects in Lansing. Do we have flooding in Lansing? Check. Are we having more frequent ice storms? Check. Are we having more power outages affecting more people and for longer periods of time? Check. Dangerously, oppressively hot summers, particularly for low-income families? Check. Board of Water and Light must not build a $500 million natural gas plant. We need to go to renewable sources of energy. Consumers Energy just got a little note the other day in my bill, 34.6% of its fuel, it comes from coal. And I wish that you would please listen to us. The world is listening to Greta Thunberg. Jane Font and others at the Capitol. Lansing has had Friday protests.
Thank you.
Please listen to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Lee Taylor and then Heather Taylor.
Good evening. Protocol having been established, I still say thank you to you individuals for giving an ear to us and letting us say what we need to say. I represent 3 organizations. One is the Brand New Me Youth Workshop. Another one is the NAACP, as well as the International Masons, the Order of Eastern Stars. The motto is to aid humanity through charity, and we follow the brotherhood of men and the fatherhood of God. That being said, when I came to this city, I knew every homeless person around here. With the movement and changes of the community, it brought about a huge change in where people lived, how they lived, and what they had to live with. Joan Jackson was one person who had the integrity and the profound knowledge and reasoning and wanting to help people without thought, without even caring how it hurt on herself. We see so many people in this room right now who are worried about her character assassination and worried about her losing her job. What you did and what happened to her did not have to happen the way it did. Adjustment can be made sometime when you do swift, so-called systematic movements and actions towards individuals. You cannot repair what you have already broken. You cannot change what she's already done the good for this city. You will not be able to restore some of the negative things that you've already done for her name and her character. But you cannot break the fact that with her character, with her actions, she has already made a profound impact in this city. And even though she may have some issues right now with dealing with this system, whatever you do is not going to stop the fact that multiple people not only depended on her, but appreciate her. The fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, to aid humanity through charity is embound by what Joan Jackson has done and probably will do with or without you.
Thank you. Next, we have Heather Taylor, followed by Eugene Kane. Heather Taylor?
She's there.
Okay. Eugene Kane, and then Eunice Foster.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, council members, I had the opportunity to come before you earlier at the Committee of the Whole meeting, and I've heard from all of the folks before me talk about the wonderful things that Joan Jackson Johnson has done for this city. I'm not going to go that particular route because in the spirit of this week, I'm thinking about my fraternity brother, Martin Luther King, who said that an injustice to one of us is an injustice to all of us everywhere. And injustice has been brought upon Ms. Johnson. I'm concerned about due process. Did she have the opportunity to redress whatever grievances or issues that were brought before her? To take it to the forensic level, you skipped the level, which you have not communicated to us. And Mr. Mayor, to you, I am befuddled by what you said about 30 minutes ago, and you can roll the tape. You said the city attorney placed her on leave. Does she report to the city attorney? No. She reports to you. You put her on leave. You have to owe up for that. Now, as far as, and you can roll the tape. I see some of you looking at one another. He did say that, and I'm concerned about that. Did she have the opportunity to address grievances? Now, as I said earlier, I'm a 50-year educator, retired and happy. Been in this city over 50 years. I've had budgets from a few thousands to $250 million, and I've been responsible. And I also know that technocrats can come and nitpick any budget. You sitting up there, you have individual budgets. I'm willing to bet you that an auditor could come and find an exception. I know that to be true. I had a situation in Highland Park where I was in control of $38 million. And the audit interview said, hey, we're missing almost $100,000. And I said, oh my God. Well, fortunately for me, the board president was sitting there. And he said, no, that couldn't be true. What happened was we did not have the attached resolution. The board secretary forgot to attach the resolution, so it was resolved. I'm willing to bet you whatever issues you brought before Joan could have been solved. And going back to Mr. Mayor, please circle back to the same community members that you came asking for their votes.
Thank you, sir.
Please circle back and explain all of this. We
Dr.
need
Kane,
an
thank you.
explanation.
Next, we have Eunice Foster, followed by Marshall Clabo.
Hello, I'm a resident of Lansing. Several days ago, a friend of mine called and she said, what's going on with Joan? And I said, what are you talking about? So then I get on the internet and I read something. And I'm sitting there saying, what? Because what I read said something about financial transactions, but I knew no more after I read it than before, because it said nothing. It said something about some financial transaction and some issue, and that she was on paid leave. And then the article went on to say, it was on the internet, went on to say that Joan was speculating as to what she thought might be the problem, but really wasn't a problem. And I thought, what? How can you put somebody on paid leave? You haven't told, you don't, and then it seemed to say that the city wasn't sure what the problem was because they were waiting on some information from somewhere. And I thought, this makes no sense. How can you put someone on leave if you're not sure what the problem is? You haven't told them what the problem is, and they don't know what the problem is. But yet and still, you've given us the impression that she's committed something illegal. Then I kept waiting to look at, I looked at my paper, there was nothing in the paper, and I kept, okay, it'll be in tomorrow's paper. It wasn't in tomorrow's paper. I subsequently saw something in the paper and still told me nothing. So again, I agree with everyone that said her reputation has been besmirched, and seemingly, unjustifiably, if you don't have the information that's coming from whoever it's supposed to come from, how can you place somebody on leave and you haven't given them an opportunity to explain or at least defend themselves? But yet and still, you give us the impression that she has done something wrong. I can tell you that my knowledge of Joan and what she's done, I do not believe it. But again, I'm still puzzled. How can we say someone is placed on leave and then put out in the public media giving everyone the impression she's done something wrong if indeed, I read it correctly, if indeed you don't know yet what the charges are, she has not been told the charges and it just has not had a chance to explain or at least defend herself. It makes no sense, and it makes me wonder, am I in the twilight zone? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Marshall Clabo, followed by Brantley Barnes.
All right. Good evening, Council. We're here again, new year, 2020, new decade. I've sat in this chamber. I've sat at the 8 a.m. intergovernmental relations meetings. I've conducted community meetings. And the reason I'm still here is because we've failed. I've failed as a leader. You all have failed as a leader. I'll exempt Councilmember Betts from this. He's new to this leadership body. Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, I'm looking at you guys. The buck stops at you. I want to thank my council member, Jackson, for your climate leadership. I'm here to speak that we have a crisis. Lansing is not exempt from a climate crisis. This is a worldwide issue. Look at the fires ravaging Australia. 1 billion animals dead. Species extinction. That's happening here too. When a state that's surrounded by water defines our boundaries, defines who we are as humans, this body of leadership holds a unique responsibility to steward that land, to steward that water. And you all have failed. Brian has showed up at 8 a.m. Jeremy has shown up once or twice. Kathy has shown up. Brian's listened. We've all failed to act. I've failed as a leader to effectively communicate the crisis to you. If I was doing my job, you would have passed something 5 years ago when I first showed up here. That's not the case. 2020, there might be a chance for you to earn a vote back. Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, those are opportunities. I think you ought to take a look at a sustainability manager in this year's budget. Secondly, my last minute and a half, I'd like to bring up the issue of parking. It was passed before the new year in a lame duck session. This affects us of lower income across the city disproportionately. I live in a house with 8 roommates. We share resources economically, ecologically. It's a cooperative living situation. We don't have room for 2 parking permits. And I know no one in my house has the income to pay, what is it, $10, $15 a month, but I give $10, $15 a month to 5 charitable groups, and that's my giving. To add a $10 charity to this budget line that's not affecting police, it's not affecting fire and ambulance, it's not affecting snowplow. We see cities in Grand Rapids, or we see cities in Michigan that have parking ordinances. Lansing doesn't need to reinvent a wheel here. You park on the odd side of one street on the snowy day, you park on the even on the other day. It's pretty common practice. To implement a $125 permit seems a little ridiculous. Hasn't been an issue brought up by anyone. Seems like an unnecessary bureaucratic mess. When we're fighting for, we couldn't even pass a $100,000 sustainability budget. How much is it going to cost to drive around these trucks doing this patrol? Whether it's the little white car, whether it's whoever. Those are salaries, something to think about. Thanks for your time. I look forward to this next decade of leadership. Congratulations, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President. Look forward to your guys' leadership.
Thank you. Next, we have Brantley Barnes, followed by Bobby Hardy.
Howdy, everyone. I'm Brantley Barnes, and I'm here speaking about the parking permit ordinance, in particular 404.13 and 404.1. So just for a moment, we can talk about why it was passed, and we do, of course, you've let us know, yes. Councilman McGarvis said it quite clearly. We have these narrow streets around the city where people parking on either side of the road, and our snowplows, our EMS, they can't fit past them. Well, as it stands, as far as EMS is concerned, the big concern is that people are parking on both sides of the road. But our new parking permit ordinance doesn't seek to solve this problem. Instead, what you decided to do is limit the number of cars on the road. Solutions in Michigan exist. As the person before me mentioned, Grand Rapids implements an odd and even system. One-sided systems, alternative side systems have been mentioned even by this council here. And for the snowplows, if it's such a concern, why do cities like Chicago, which have such a larger density than we do, manage to make it work, banning only overnight parking during 3 months out of the year on 100 out of 4,000 miles that they have access to? The more likely situation is that we are raising money. Yes? Councilmember Carol Wood brought this up before. During a period of 3 months, one night shift police officer managed to write an average of 1,000 parking tickets monthly, bringing in $60,000. $60,000 from where? It doesn't just come out of thin air. Councilmember Betts and Councilmember Jackson know the answers. There's a lot of skinny driveways out there, small garages, and often multiple tenants with multiple vehicles. And those are the people with less income. That's just money coming out of their pocket that would otherwise go to rent, food, or clothes. We are contributing to a system of criminalized poverty, of cyclical poverty. And I understand, more than anything, that an annual fee of $125 isn't too much, until it is. A nightly ticket of $25 isn't too much, until it is. A $50 late payment isn't too much. Multiple tickets aren't too much. An impounded car isn't too much. And I get it. For most of us, it really isn't too much. But for some of us, it is exactly too much. I please urge you to reconsider the decision that you've made last December. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Bobby Hardy, followed by Gwendolyn Bodiford.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bobby Hardy. Got it on now? This is on behalf of Joan Jackson. As I was sitting back there and I began to look around the room and look at all of you and think about all the lives that she have impacted, all the lives that she have touched. You know, as I was just sitting back there and I began to think about the time when when I didn't have much food at home. I think I had 3 pieces of meat in my fridge. And someone told me about the mobile food pantry. And I went. When I got there, oh my God, the love. I felt I felt like I was at the right place. I was sent in the right place at the right time because Joan Jackson Johnson is who I greeted. She came to speak. In the beginning, she'll come and she always give a word of encouragement. I was feeling down that day, and the words that she spoke brought life. It touched my heart. It made me feel like, wow, I was somewhere that I wasn't judged. Someone who didn't look at my situation, but to be there to help me through my situation. Went there. There was one time I was at. I took the grandkids because I had the grandkids in my care. I was giving my grandkids over situations, and I didn't have much, and they needed haircuts, and there with her, there again, a savior to help. Kids got free haircuts, book bags, school, supplies. There she was. The babies need strollers. There she was. Everywhere I turned around, she was there. She was there to help me in those low times of my life. And I thank God for her. And all the work that she's done will not go unnoticed. I know that she touched many lives. To touch your life, just being in her presence. She's always had that word, that she's always had that smile, in those times when you don't know where you're gonna go, where I'm at, you find yourself lost in your emotions. She'll say something to you, make you smile. That's the kind of person she is. I don't know what is in depth. I don't know what is really going on. I'm not looking at all that. I'm looking at how can we fix this? How can we fix it? God wants us to do things decent and in order. Was it done decent and in order? Think about it. Was it done proper? Was it done proper? Think of it. Just go in your heart. Take out that natural self and look on the spiritual side. Did I do the right thing?
Thank you. Thank you. Next is Gwendolyn Bodiford, followed by Reverend Clyde Carnegie.
Good evening. I'm Gwendolyn Bodiford, a 38-year educator, public education in the city of Lansing. I've resided in this community since 1972. I have sons. I have many sons and daughters. I've touched over thousands of lives. But the one thing that I'd like to be remembered for, the one thing that I think is very important, that I think that you need to take a look at this evening, is integrity. Can I look at you with integrity? When I talk to students and I talk to parents and we talk about what's going on in their community, Lansing, can we speak with integrity about the decisions that really touch them? In public education, everyone does not have all that they need to exist really smoothly throughout the course of a day. They don't have the food to eat. They don't have the right clothes to wear. And people speak to them in demeaning ways. But the one thing that they can count on with educators who care, who have integrity, is when they are embraced by them, when they meet them, when they come to their classrooms or see them in the hallway. They know that they can count on them. Their integrity stands before them. Did you use integrity in this particular situation? Dr. Joan Jackson Johnson is a person of high integrity. I like to think of her as the servant leader. If you lead and you lead well, then you roll up your sleeves, roll up your pants leg, take off your shoes, do whatever you need to do, and show others what needs to be done. This has been an insurmountable kind of an experience for me to be able to talk to students and parents and those in our community about and be able to say this servant leader with high integrity was treated with justice. Not. Please take a look at yourself, because the things that you do to one person today, tomorrow, you're going to have to answer for that. And only you can look at yourself in the mirror and be able to tell the truth as to whether or not you truly know that everything you did was done with integrity, in truth, and with justice. Take a look at that. Good evening.
Thank you. Next is Reverend Clyde Carnegie, followed by Catherine Fournier.
Reverend Clyde Carnegie, 1616 West Michigan Avenue, pastor, Friendship Baptist Church. I say to all of us here tonight, stand for something, or else you'll fall for anything. What message is being sent? Are we saying to persons who have sacrificed, worked hard for years, whose shoulders you stand on? Lansing didn't wake up overnight. People have spent many, many years to get us to be a great city. Are you saying to the future volunteers who will give of their time, not asking for money, who will give of themselves to keep this city great, you can do all of this, but if you do this, we turn our back on you. We don't have anything to do with you. We need to revive in the minds of the citizens here that we treat each other with respect and reverence and love. Obviously, there are issues. I'm well acquainted with a life of issues. But there's a way in which we can work with one another that sends a message of peace, goodwill, and understanding, dignity, and not throwing them to the curb. She is an angel in Lansing. I've watched her. And she'll answer this question. And I challenge everyone here to take a look at it. Where were you when I was a hungered? Where were you when I didn't have any clothes? Where were you when I was homeless? Where were you when the world turned their back on me? Joan was there. She'll answer that. We have a responsibility tonight to right what has happened. I stand in no judgment, but I stand in human dignity. She didn't care if you were black, white, it didn't make her any difference. Male, female, it didn't bother her. She got her hands dirty. She rolled up her sleeves, and she worked to help make Lansing a great city. We stand on her shoulders. And I say tonight, Joan, we love you. Joan, we're not going to leave you. Joan, keep on. And yes, we will overcome. We shall overcome. We'll overcome these indignities and help Lansing be even a better place. I thank you for the opportunity to speak, honorable board members, but let us not forget those who have sacrificed to put us where we are. Someone paid a price. I feel she's paid a price, and she will receive a reward far greater than anything we're talking about here. God bless her.
Thank you. Next is Catherine Fournier, followed by Mitch Rice.
Good evening. I'm going to speak very briefly about this. I'm here to speak about the parking ordinance that would go into effect on March 1st. When I first read about this ordinance, I didn't know what our household was going to do. With many people living there, with many cars. I still don't. There's nothing we can do. If you're giving us a limit of 1 permit per household, and we have multiple, it's just going to be impossible to navigate. And I'm not the only person that feels this way or is going to have this situation and this tribulation in their life. We have 26% of the city of Lansing living in poverty, and these ordinances disproportionately affect people of that can't afford to live in households with bigger driveways and smaller amounts of roommates. We're going to be hit very hard by this. It's going to be expensive, and when you're scraping pennies together, something like $125 matters a lot. So it's going to be a coin toss in our house upon who does it, if we're going to split expenses, what we're going to do, and I'm sure many people in our community are going to be facing the same issues. So I ask you repeal that ordinance. Because it's going to hit a lot of our city's poorest the hardest. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Mitch Rice and then Willie Davis. I think Mr. Rice has left, so Willie Davis and then Susan Cancro.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Willie Davis, also almost a 50-year educator, and I'm also in a number of different groups around the city. And I was noticing that the mayor mentioned Martin Luther King, and they also mentioned the food bank when he was doing his presentation. And we saw also Maxine Kane, Dr. Kane, and Barbara Roberts Mason mentioned Dr. Joan Jackson Johnson and their help with people. And it takes me back to the story of Martin Luther King when he spoke about the Good Samaritan. And they asked him, why would you help a stranger on the road in need? Weren't you afraid for yourself? And he said, I'm not so worried about what will happen to me, but what will happen to him if I do not help him. And so that's what Dr. Joan Johnson Jackson was, the Good Samaritan. And she follows in the footsteps. And as we saw earlier, a number of people throughout the city, especially African-American women, have been maligned going back to Yvonne Christopher and others. So there seems to be a history of African-American women being vamped upon. But of course, so was Sojourner Truth. So was Harriet Tubman. So was Rosa Parks. And she follows in the footsteps of these women. And we actually are kind of blessed in Lansing of having a saint. And one of the major things, too, that's happening throughout the nation is the cause for reparations. And reparation actually means to repair the damage that had been done. And in this case, the damage that has been done to her reputation has not just affected her, but all of us. As Dr. Martin Luther King says, injustice here in one place is justice, and justice everywhere and for everyone. So we do need to repair this breach. We are a mighty city with some mighty people and a mighty woman who, in my mind, is the Good Samaritan. Can we go against that? Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker this evening is Susan Cancro.
Good evening again. My name is Susan Cancro. I live in Lansing and I work in Lansing. I've been the executive director at Advent House Ministries for 26 years. And I just want to say that the focus tonight on the celebration of the Dr. Martin Luther King Remembrance Day is a wonderful focus, but one we should think about as Dr. King stood against injustice that had come into law. Ignorance, greed, and fear created the laws that were so unjust that people had to speak what is obviously the truth, experienced by people of color, by women, by vast ethnic minorities and majorities, and we know what that did. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. My neighbors, my best friend was Miriam Weingarten, and her parents had numbers tattooed on their arms. When injustice becomes law, we are wrong. What we have to watch now is that law, for the same misguided reasons, does not become injustice. Consider that as we go into that event in a week. But consider that as you go into your deliberations on what to do next. I respect you. You've been our support for many years. Without the city, we could not have done the good we've done in all these years. You do not have an easy job. None of you as council members, nor you, Mr. Mayor. But I ask you to remember that you're human, and we're all flawed, and we have to consider what we're doing. And I am not an attorney, as you are, Attorney Smirka. But law is based on common sense, decency, and order. And I would ask that you preserve all three in the decisions that you make. Thank you.
That was our final speaker. Thank you.
There being no further business for the Lansing City Council at 9:07 p.m., we are adjourned.
The discharge? Yes. I think it's actually a